Hello everyone and welcome to Call Sign Charlie Models. Andre here, and we have another inbox review today. And we have today the Revell 132nd Bf-110 C2/C7 right here. Once I can get it in the camera, I'm going to block off my entire face right here. But again, very nice looking box art and everything. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the camera turned around, and then we can start looking at everything that's on the box and also inside the box. So give me 1 second and I'll be right back. Alright, we're back and everything's set up. So starting off with the top box art, we have some great box art on the front. This is skill level 5. So technically it's the most difficult level that Revell has. A total parts count of 423 parts and a total length of 37.8 centimeters and 50.6 centimeters, which in US units that is 19.9 inches by 14.8 inches. So fairly decent sized kit for a World War II fighter. Alright, so we go off onto the sides of the box and we have a little bit of a description right here, a nice little history about the Bf-110, and then we also have some pictures of the built model right here. It looks like it's going to be fairly nicely detailed on that. And then we flip it over to the other side and we just have a picture of all the plastic that's going to be in the kit, and then also some other Revell level paints and glues for that. So then we're going to open up the box once I get it flipped around, and the box is kind of a thin box, but we'll have to do. And then they have all this extra space for this box. They could have cut a lot of box off right here for this kit. I mean, that is so much wasted room for the kit. I mean, there's 8 inches crossed right there, and then about 4.5 to and about 4 inches there that they could have cut off the box and made this a lot smaller. This is, I mean, kind of baffling on why this box is so large on that. All the plastic comes in one bag, but it looks like all the other sprues are individually bagged as well. So we'll have to take a look at those here in a second. And then we have the instructions and decals. So I'm going to get everything set up, and then we can start going through the instructions and decals and everything. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright, so starting off with the instructions, we have a nice little booklet form right here. Looks like it's going to be color, hopefully. We'll have to see here in a second. But again, nice picture of a built model right there on the front page. Then we open it up, and then we have some tips and tricks to use for the build. Then also our legend of symbols that we're going to be seeing throughout the build. Then we also have our color callouts right here. No actual manufacturer. I'm assuming they're all the Revell numbers for the colors, but you can just do your conversions for whatever brand that you want to use. Alright, then after that we have our sprue callouts right here. Not too many sprues on here, so we'll have to see how this all looks here in just a second. Going on with more of a sprue callout. The sprues are nicely numbered and easily legible on those. Alright, so now we're starting off with the kit. The first step is we have to remove a couple parts right here, and then we're also working on our dashboard. It looks like we do have decals for our dashboard as well. And then we're also adding in a few extra pieces. Then after that, we are working on our side console right here, getting that attached along with our control stick and our instrument panel. We do have 2 options, version C-7 and C-2. And then we also have our pilot seat right here with decals for our seat belts going on. Then we're adding in a couple more pieces along with our flight deck. After that's all done, we are flipping it over. We do have a few detail pieces to add in there, and then some more detail pieces along there as well for our cockpit, it looks like. And again, adding more decals to our pilot seat as well. After that, we have a radio piece, it looks like, and then some other detail components and some machine gun ammo cans right there. After that's all done, we are getting our radio components on along with our machine gun drums right there, and then some other parts like our aft gunner seat going on as well. Okay, then we are adding some oxygen bottles and some more machine gun drums right there, and then adding in all the other parts to getting all those together right there, and then adding them to our flight deck. And then we have our gun assembly going on right there, and then another sidewall going on. And then we have some more pieces going on to our fuselage and our nose, and then we have some more machine guns going on, and then more machine guns going on, and then we are getting everything put together, and then after that we are finally getting our fuselage halves together right there. Alright, so up next we have version C-2 and C-7 options for this back plate that goes on the fuselage. And then we also have another piece going into the nose section. Then we are attaching the nose section to the fuselage. Then we are doing our wing spar, getting a wing spar along with the belly pan on, and then we're starting to work on our engines. Looks like so far from what I can see there's going to be some fairly nice detail on these engines. Alright, yeah, we're building it up and there's a lot going on to this engine. It's not a wingnut wings or Tamiya level engine, but still there's going to be a fairly decent amount of detail on these engines. Right here, so just adding in some more detail parts all through there. Looks like these are engine nacelles right there, and then we are getting some more parts for our landing gear and our exhaust stacks, getting those attached to the engine along with our landing gear right there. And then continuing on, we have the option of having the nacelle covers or cowlings on the, leaving them on or off right there. And then also, I can't see, I think this is just a mirror for the other side as well. Alright, and then for option 54 we do have a few holes to drill right here. And then again adding in some more detail parts to our wings right there. Again, and then repeating for the other side, getting all that done, and then we are getting our engines attached to our wings. Then we have the wingtip to add on, and then a navigation light right there. Then some more detail parts for our wings going on, and then repeating, adding the engines to the other wing. After that, we are adding our wings to our fuselage, getting that all done, and then we have our wheels, our tail wheel going on onto the back piece right here. And then we're working on a tailplane, getting that all together, and then we are getting that put onto the fuselage. And then we have another piece to go onto the engine nacelle. We do have a couple holes to drill right here as well. Then we're getting in our landing gear doors, and then we have a bomb rack right here that we can put on. With our bombs, we can carry 2 bombs on this. And then we have some other pieces going on to the wings right here, and then some more bombs for our wings as well. Alright, and then we're just doing the landing gear for the main landing gear, getting those all on, and then we are working on our clear parts, getting those on. We do have some holes to drill for this right here, and our tail gun going on, and then we're working on some more canopy stuff, and we have a nice little canopy frame right here that's going to sit on the model and kind of block off that join between the fuselage and the cockpit right there. After that, we do have our canopy going on. Looks like we're going to have the option of having the top canopy open or closed right there. And then we are working on our propellers, getting those all together, and then we have a few detail parts to add on to our tailplane and then also to our wings as well. We do have the boarding ladder, then some antenna and pitot tubes going on. And then we also do have our paint schemes right here. So Belgorod, Russia, May of 1942 for this version right here. Again, very nice. This is the one that seems to be done to death with the Hornet on the nose right there. Then we have another one. It's the same one right there. We have our stencil placements right here. Then we have the other option from France of June of 1940. Again, pretty nice on that. And then that's it. So just a repeat for our stencils, adding on to the fuselage right there. Alright, so looking at our decals do look pretty nice. They do feel a little bit thick, but everything should go down pretty nice with some sulfaset. That special symbol that was used by Germany in World War II is not on this decal sheet. So if it is on this aircraft, which I'll have to do some research, I'll have to buy some paint mask or find some decals for it to do that. But Revell, Germany, it's illegal for them to produce that special symbol, so that's why you won't find that symbol on any of their decal sheets. But other than that, it's a simple fix to find some mask or make a mask. It's not a very complex shape to draw out. Alright, so now we are starting off with the plastic, and this is typical Revell plastic. Feels okay, not just a perfect strength to the plastic, doesn't feel too bad. And the rivet detail on here, actually the rivet detail on here looks pretty nice. For the panel lines and the rivet detail, all those look very nice. And then we even have the rubber boots that go around the shock absorbers for our landing gear right here, which are nicely molded as well. For our tail wheel, yeah, the detail on that looks okay. Probably definitely going to be getting some aftermarket wheels for this kit. But everything else so far for the molding looks pretty nice. I'm not seeing any ejector pin marks or anything that are worrisome on that. We flip it over, and then we have our engine firewalls right here. Again, not much to them. They are good starting points for if you want to go in and add more wiring to those. And then we have our engine cowl right here, or one of our engine cowl, it looks like. Very nicely molded, no ejector pin marks on the inside of that, and also no flash on this kit so far from what I can see. Alright, and then moving on, we have our fuselage half right here. Some nice panel line detail. There is no rivet detail included in here, just a little bit along the wing root right here. But other than that, there's just some nice panel lines, but no other detail to that. And then we have our bomb rack right here. Again, not much detail, just going around all array. And then we have this other bomb rack right here. It does have a couple of ejector pin marks on it, but they're not too bad. They should be covered up by bombs if you put bombs on there. We do have a little bit of flash on this wing spar right here, but it does knock off very easy on that. And there's just, I mean, there's not a lot of detail to it, but it's a good starting point for the detail on that. So again, as you can see, all very nice. And we flip it over to the other side for the inside of the cockpit area. Not much detail to it, but we do have a sidewall that goes on one side, and then some other detail that goes on with the cockpit. So you have all that going on. Our belly pan, not going to be able to see any of that. And then there's the other side of the fuselage right there. Alright, and up next we have another sprue. It has our landing gear doors, a couple other detail parts. There is a little bit of rivet detail on that piece right there, which is a double piece. Get you zoomed in a little bit more, hopefully. There we go. And then it looks like our flight deck right here, or our landing gear well, sorry. We'll flip it over here in a second to see the other side. Then we have all the antenna and all the small details that are going to be going on to this kit that look pretty nice. Just straight molded right there. For our landing gear wells, we do have some nice raised rivets on there, as you can see. So some fairly decent detail, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be having some cabling and such, and also your landing gear strut that goes in here as well to kind of liven that area up for that. Then on the next sprue is some more fuselage detail, our radio compartment stuff, which is nicely detailed on that. And then we have all the other pieces going on. Not much detail to any of this, but I'm also not seeing any ejector pin marks, which is very nice. Our flight deck, again, is pretty basic, but you're going to be having a lot of other detail that's going to go in there and kind of liven that up as well. Then our instrument panel, as you can see, it looks pretty nice as well. Let me get this flipped over. the detail on it looks fairly nice. You're going to have decals and everything that go on that as well. So that looks pretty nice for injection molding. And like I said, you're going to have decals and everything that goes on top of it to really help liven that up. For the other side, not really worried about anything except for like this piece right here. We have one of our cockpit sidewalls right here. Nice little cabling detail going around there. And then on this one we have some more nice cabling detail. We do have a couple of ejector pin marks right along the top side right here, but I'm not sure. Looks like there might be some pieces that go in there to cover those up. Alright, so up next we have our engine sprue, and the engines for the engine blocks look actually pretty nice for the detail, and you're going to have all the other detail that goes on it to help liven it up, so that's going to look pretty nice. The exhausts are not hollowed out. As you can see, they are not drilled out on the exhaust tips, so definitely going to need to go in and drill those out or buy the aftermarket ones if you choose to go that route. But as for the rest of the detail on here, it does look very nice. I'm not seeing any issues. Just cutting off all these little ejector pin nubs right there on that. The propellers also do look very nice. They are nice and knife edged on the leading and trailing edges of the propellers. And then we have our propeller spinner right here. Again, some nice molding on that, and we even have a little bit of rivet detail around the very edge of it. We flip it over to the other side. The only thing that we're really worried about are the props right here. No issues on that. And then for our framing for our engines, again, ejector pin nubs right here to cut off, but no real issues. All the weight saving holes, if you want to go in and drill all those out to really help with the aesthetic of this, that is an option, which I will probably be doing on that, just to really make that area look that much better. Alright, then up next we have another sprue. Looks like we have some canopy framing right here. Then a bunch of other little detail parts. Our pilot seat on this one has no ejector pin marks on that right there. We're going to flip it around to see the back seater here in a little bit. But all the other detail, very small, very nicely molded on that with our ammo cans going on. We flip it over to the other side. Again, very nice detail on our ammo cans for Revell. Now if this was another manufacturer, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? But for Revell, these are very nice, nicely detailed and nicely molded on that. So again, ammo cans looking nice. Our machine gun for our aft gunner, again, nicely detailed for the most part. Our barrel is drilled out, so that's nice. And then on our aft gunner, or this is our pilot seat, the other seat was our aft gunner. No ejection pin marks on that as well. So again, very nicely detailed for Revell on this sprue. Okay, up next we have our sprue with our bombs. Our bomb fins, they do look okay. They are a little bit thick, so definitely going to be sanding and or filing those down to make them a little bit thinner on that. And then the bomb bodies, not much detail to those as well either. We get two of these sprues right here, and then we have this little sprue right here. Not sure what all this detail is. This looks like a pitot tube right here. I'm not sure what these are for right now. Then we have our nose cone right here. Actually, the nose cone does look very nice with the panel lines. There are some scratches in the plastic to deal with because it's been jumping around with three other sprues in one bag. So definitely going to need to take care of those little scratches before we start painting. But everything else looks pretty nice on here. As you can see, the gun ports right through there all look pretty nice. Then on the inside, not much detail, but you're not going to see it unless you pull off the nose cone to show off the nose right there. Alright, so up next we have another double sprue. A couple of these parts are getting ready to fall off, and they have actually already fallen off on the other sprue. But we have the belly pans for our engine nacelles right there. Again, pretty nicely detailed on that with the panel lines. No rivet detail again. Just going to break that piece off. And then the top side of our engine nacelle, again, No rivet detail, but some nice panel line detail on that. Then on the inside, we do have our ejector pin marks right there. That's the only thing that I've been seeing, ejector pin marks. And the only way that this is going to be an issue is if you are going to leave one of these off. And with how detailed that engine is going to be, I'm definitely thinking about leaving one of these engine covers off of the engine. Now going on to the rest of the sprue. Alright, so we have our bombs, and again, the bomb fins do feel pretty thick, and they are squared off, so definitely going to file those down to get that knife edge, leading and trailing edge on that, and again on these fins as well. And our fuel tanks, again, look pretty nice for German fuel tanks. Our wheels do have some nice tread detail to them, and they are in half, so hopefully you don't lose too much of that detail when you are sanding down the seam lines. Now for our machine gun barrels are drilled out. We do have some very nice detail on these guns as well. So again, as you can see right there, some nice detail on those guns. So we do get 2 of these sprues as well. Alright, so starting off with our clear parts. Alright, so clear parts do look very nice. I can't tell if that's a crack or if that's an actual frame line right there. I'm hoping it's a frame line. It is on both sides and the same place, so I am thinking that it's a frame line for that. So that's good. We do have 2 options, it looks like, for this rear canopy piece right there, and then we look at all the other canopy pieces right there, crystal clear on the plastic. So very nicely done for that sprue. And then we have the other clear sprue right here, which again, crystal clear on the clear parts, and then all the other parts on here. So no issues with any of the clear parts whatsoever. Alright, up next we have our wing bottoms right here. Just starting off with some of our boxes that are going on, and then we have the tailplane right here. Again, just the panel lines, no rivet detail involved in this kit. Same thing with the wings. Our flaps are not positionable, so they will be in the up position unless you do some modifications to the kit right there. But again, we do have some rivet detail on that. I was wrong. So it does show up on the camera, but when I was looking at it in person, it wasn't showing up. So it's a little bit of a reverse, because usually you can see it in person, but you can't see it on the camera. But we got the other wing right here. And then we reverse for the other side, just for the landing gear area, and there's not much detail on the inside of that right there. But then again, you are really not going to be able to see up in there anyways. Alright, and then we have our wing tops right here. Again, same thing with the underside with the panel line and rivet detail. There's only a little bit of rivet detail on here, as you can see, like only on this piece right here are the only rivets, and maybe on these little panels right here, but there's no rivets going along these panel lines, so you're definitely going to need to re-panel or re-rivet this aircraft while you're building it. Again, same thing with the other wing right here, and then we have our top side of our tailplane right here. Not much going on with that, just a little bit of framing detail on the elevators right here. Not much to them, but yeah. And this is our last sprue of the kit, by the way. Alright, so that does it for the Revell 1/32 scale Bf-110 C-2 or C-7. Now for a Revell kit, this actually does look like a very nice kit. Looks like it's going to be a good starter point if you want to go super detailed on it, or it looks like it's going to be a good kit just straight out of the box. Definitely going to need to go in and add some rivet detail on it, just to kind of liven that up. And then the exhaust, again, either drilling out the exhaust ports or going and buying aftermarket ones. The cockpit detail did look pretty decent, and the engine detail also looked pretty good as well, especially for being a Revell kit. Now, is it going to be a Tamiya level detail or a Wingnut Wings level detail? No, but straight out of the box it should come out very nice or go in and add some more plumbing and all that to it if you would like. But yeah, so the kit looks very nice. Looks like it's going to be a somewhat easy build. I don't know why or how it's considered a level 5. It doesn't look like it's very complicated compared to some of the other kits' complication levels or difficulty levels. So that's what I really have to say about the kit. Really not much more to it. A few bits of aftermarket, and then also going to need to find that special symbol that Germany used in World War II. But other than that, that's all I got to say. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope if you're on the verge of buying this kit, or if you were on the didn't know whether or not to buy it, I hope this video helped you make your decision. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below, especially if you've built this kit. Let us know if there's any hiccup areas involved with the build. And until next time, have a great day, stay frosty, and happy modeling.